Okay, welcome to the March meeting of the Citizens Climate Lobby Hawaii chapters, 4 islands meeting together to collaborate. Yeah, thank you, welcome. And our agenda today, the next slide, which is sort of connect a little bit before we go into the content, but a little bit about CCL for new folks, mostly a familiar crowd here. But we're a nonpartisan group. We welcome different political viewpoints and welcome everyone regardless of age, political affiliation, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, ability, or background. Anyone who wants to work together to enable effective climate legislation. And going on to the next slide. This is an opportunity for us to kind of share a little bit about what we're thinking and connect with each other before we go into the agenda. And today's prompt is, what would you include in a letter to your member of Congress? Something you would want to write or share with them. What's heaviest on your mind? You can put this in the chat and type it out. If you want to say it out loud too, please go ahead and unmute and share what's on your mind. What would you share with your members of Congress?
Yeah, I could add something, Jim. Maybe I would like to say, just remind them, members of Congress, that greenhouse gas emissions are the root cause of our global heating, and therefore legislation to reduce emissions is essential.
Thank you, Ron. That is very important. Yes. Ashley.
I would thank Jill Takuda for coming to Maui to do an open town hall. It's not every day that your congressperson opens the floor to literally any question. So I thought that was really cool. She was here last Tuesday. And then I would definitely mention the climate, though. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else like to share? I feel like I would try to communicate a need of urgency to them and taking action on climate and everything. Just more and more vital and critical that we act soon. So I think that's kind of the energy that I'm feeling. Virginia says she would ask them to please keep the clean energy credits. They're benefiting states with jobs and cost-effective clean energy. Noel says he would say to be brave and protect our rights, our environment, our climate, be brave and loud. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Roberta, welcome. You could rename if you'd like.
And Virginia, this is
looks like you renamed me.
Yes, I did.
Sorry, Sequoia, what'd you say?
I will not be able to. Why? But I wouldn't be able to be part of the picture because camera's not working. So, but yes, okay. There is a representative from Kauai here.
Okay, so you're from Kauai?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, then I can legally say that when I send the picture to Flannery, because they're going to put an article out in CCL about CCL Hawaii. Right.
Awesome. We've got everybody here.
Everybody, all the chapters.
I should have wore a better shirt then, but anyway, let's keep going. So the next slide, who we are, and Keith usually does this part. Keith, did you want to?
So our core values are focus, optimism, diversity, relationship, integrity, being nonpartisan, and bringing our personal power as a guide to our engagement and work. And then that mission to create the political power for a livable world by empowering individuals to experience breakthroughs in exercising their personal and political power.
Yeah, and we're going to have a chance to do that later in the meeting. There's going to be some specific instructions on how you can increase your personal and political power. So here's the thing about our policy agenda, and the problem that we have is that our main policy that CCL was founded on was a thing called carbon fee and dividend, as many of us know. It was in the last 118th Congress as the Energy Innovation Act. And in this Congress, it is not going to go anywhere. And this is similar to the Hawaii situation, where carbon cashback bill also died in the Hawaii legislature this year. So accordingly, CCL National has developed other priorities, and the three other ones are in the top right there: electrifying America's buildings and homes. And as the grid gets greener, all these buildings and homes will also get greener. And on the bottom left, a healthy climate and healthy forests reduce emissions by sequestering carbon and hopefully not burning down like they seem to be doing all over the world right now. And then lastly, clean energy permitting reform, making it easier to build clean energy and thus reduce carbon emissions. And so the one on the top left, carbon cashback, is kind of on hold, and CCL is opportunistically supporting other things which are effective, will reduce emissions, and are achievable in the present political climate. So that, I think, is about all I need to say there. And on the subject,
hey, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just a moment. Paul wants to introduce folks.
Okay.
Well, actually, yeah, sorry first for being late, but sorry, Kitty and Kyrie, didn't know if you wanted to take a minute or two just to introduce yourselves. Sorry, maybe other people know you, but I don't think I've ever seen you on a call, and it's great to have you folks join us. So if you wanted to just introduce yourself for a second, and yeah, it'd be great to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm Kitty, and I'm on my cell phone trying to figure out how this Zoom thing is working, but I was able to unmute myself. I'm in Kauai, and I've been involved with climate change issues for quite some time.
Great. What other groups have you been a part of?
Protect Our Winters, Patagonia, and I'm an ambassador for Lion Energy, and we're working on a project with indigenous people with Navajo, providing solar panels and lithium-ion batteries to those who don't have any electricity.
Wow, that's great.
Wow.
Thanks for your good work, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see us, Kitty?
Yeah, I can. Can y'all see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to know if like we clap or something, or should,
Oh.
So you see that. Okay. We don't have to say, I am clapping for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyrie, do you have a second? Or I'm not sure if you're at a place where you can talk or not, since we can't see you.
Hi, Kyrie. I'm a student at the University of Hawaii at Hilo. And I recently joined the group maybe in January. And I'm just more interested in what I can do personally to help the changes of climate change and stuff like that, or like prevent it in any way. So this is my first group. I'm really excited. So I've been at CCL for a little bit.
Oh, great. Sorry not to recognize that. Great to have you here. And if there's something you can do, you just schedule a meeting with Donald Trump and get him to recognize climate change. That'd be great. We'd really appreciate that. But no, great to have you, Kyrie. And hope things are going well at UH Hilo.
Good. Thanks, Paul, for that nice introductions. So regarding national, what's happening nationally, U.S. Congress is now deep in the midst of a totally partisan process, which is called budget reconciliation. Only requires a majority of votes to pass in the House. That's 218 out of the 345, or 51 in the Senate out of 100. And so to get to the budget reconciliation, they have to pass a thing called a budget resolution. And the resolution describes the rules that both the Senate and the House will end up agreeing on under this final product called the budget reconciliation. We don't need to know all the ins and outs of this complicated process, but if you'd like a good rundown on how this works, I think Ashley will put a link from npr.org in the chat, which is a very good primer on the whole thing. But like I say, us rank and file folks really don't need to know all the details. We have a vice president of government affairs at CCL by the name of Jen Tyler, and Jen is just a super resource and an expert. And what she and others in CCL leadership are doing is they're arranging meetings between CCL liaisons and our members of Congress. And they're arranging CCL members, like all of us here, to email and call and even write our members of Congress. The messaging is a new first in my experience with CCL. It's specific for Republicans and different and specific for Democrats, which is kind of neat. Now, for us chickens here in Hawaii, all our members of Congress are Democrats. Our two senators, Schatz and Haruna, and our two representatives, Case and Tokuda. And the message that CCL suggests for Democratic districts such as ours, states such as ours, is this link, cclusa.org/PR, which stands for permitting reform. So with that little introduction, what I'd like to do is dive in now to some specific action items. Top of the list here is fundraising. Gosh darn. You wouldn't think a nonprofit organization would need to make money and actually show a profit, but it's certainly true. They do. If your income doesn't exceed your expenses, you end up not being able to pay the rent or salaries or do anything good for anybody much. So fundraising is important, and I love CCL doesn't keep asking for money. They have 2 annual fundraisers. One's going on right now, and it ends in a few days at the end of March. And then calls to our MOCs, permitting reform, we already mentioned, and then writing letters to Congress using that link that was mentioned, cclusa.org/PR. That will get you where you need to go. So I think, Noel, are we into the next slide? No.
Yeah. What I will do now, I think you want me to play a video, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that.
At the national level, we've had a few major updates since our last meeting in February. Since February 18th, this graphic needs a little bit of an update. We've sent more than 18,100 messages to Congress about the need to preserve staffing and funding at NOAA, which if you don't know what that is, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And that's huge. And I want to thank each and every one of you who sent a message. And we know that there were a lot of people asking friends as family to do this as well. The reason we were doing this is because, this agency plays a critical role in weather forecasting, extreme weather warnings, and climate science. The National Weather Service is part of NOAA, and it's the only public forecasting agency out there. So it helps all of us stay safe when we have those extreme weather events like hurricanes, winter storms, or even the wildfires that we're even now seeing in parts of the Southeast. The agency's research is the gold standard for us. What we're really interested in as well is tracking our atmospheric carbon and the things that are changing in our climate and our atmosphere due to climate change. And they publish this information for the American public and for the international community. So we think it's really vital that their work continue. If you've been following this, unfortunately, you know that last week it was reported that the administration has moved forward with significant staffing cuts at the agency. And just in the last few days, reports came out that the administration is starting to talk about canceling leases for centers that NOAA uses to gather weather data and to make forecasts. So it's very concerning to see the administration continue to plow forward with curtailing this agency's most important work. However, we have seen some agencies where they have asked some laid off staff and employees to return. So we do hope that's the case at NOAA. But we also want to recognize that some lawmakers are starting to make some comments about this. So there has been a little bit of public outcry that they've heard from several of their constituents, and they've started to speak up on this and take action. For example, Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland is one of the lawmakers who put out a statement saying very clearly that slashing NOAA's workforce will only hurt vital services that Americans depend on, and emphasizing, I can guarantee we'll be figuring this action out in Congress and in the courts. And Senator Maria Cantwell from Washington sent a letter to the Secretary of Commerce calling on him to protect all NOAA workers from firings. And other voices are joining the chorus here as well. There have been big protests outside of NOAA's headquarters in Maryland and at a NOAA facility in Boulder, Colorado. Now, CCL doesn't typically protest, but it's great to see each part of the advocacy ecosystem working in its own way, and we're really glad to see that they're doing those things. I share all of this because I know it's hard to see right now immediate results from the outreach that we're doing. It's also important to note that it's the beginning of a new Congress, and they're really focused on other things, a lot of other important things right now, or not important, but they're focused on a lot of things right now. And it's usually slow getting started at the beginning of a Congress. But it's really important to notice that our voices are loud. Other advocates are raising their voices in other ways too. And our messages are being echoed now by people in power who are applying the pressure in ways they can. This is a long game, but what we've already done so far is a very meaningful part of our ongoing work. So we're going to keep that action tool available that we have right now. Kathy will drop the link in the chat. It's the cclusa.org/NOAA tool. So if you want to continue to share that link with friends and family or send updated messages as the story develops. But of course, right now, our climate defense is moving forward on a really extremely important front. So in the weeks since our last meeting, the budget reconciliation process, feel free to roll your eyes when you hear that word, that has gotten underway in Congress, which means it is prime time for us to defend the clean energy tax credits. And that's what we've been talking about since the beginning of the year. So the time is here. Now, near the end of last month, the House passed a budget resolution that tells all the committees how they're expected to cut or spend in a budget reconciliation bill. So now what's happening is that those committees are figuring out where to make those cuts so that they can hit those numbers. Unfortunately, one place they could potentially make cuts and try to save money is by repealing the clean energy tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act. We do not want them to do that. The clean energy tax credits are driving jobs, investment in communities around the country. And you've been hearing us talk about this at CCL really for the last 3 months, or even back into 2024. Those benefits are huge for the economy, and the tax credits for clean electricity in particular are responsible for about half of the potential climate cuts from the Inflation Reduction Act. Let me say that again. I'm going to say it and I'm going to show. Here we go. The tax credits for clean electricity in particular are responsible for about half of the potential climate pollution cuts from the Inflation Reduction Act. We worked feverishly to help get the Inflation Reduction Act over the finish line, so we must not waste that effort or this opportunity to protect nearly half of what it will do in terms of reducing emissions. There is no more impactful action climate advocates can be taken at this moment than mobilizing to protect the tax credits during the budget reconciliation process. And it's up to us as citizens to make sure that Republican lawmakers are crystal clear on the value of the clean energy tax credits, and that those shouldn't be sacrificed at any point during this process. Now, we're going to take action on this together later in the call, and you'll see on the March action sheet related to this as well.
Let me just say what you may have missed when Ricky was talking about mobilizing to support the clean energy tax credits. He, in passing, quickly mentioned for Republican members of Congress. And that's because of the budget reconciliation, which is Republican controlled and is a totally partisan process. And the tax credits are going to be part of the budget reconciliation work that Republicans are doing. So us chickens here in Hawaii don't have any Republican members of Congress. So we've got another specific call to action, which is just for Democrats. And I'll get to that in a minute. The other thing is this segment focused on Congress, focused on the administration, the slash and burn that's coming from the president and from the Doge group by Elon Musk. CCL is glad that many groups are pushing back on those presidential administration actions. And there's lawsuits and da-da-da, and it's all over the media as the main clickbait item of news. CCL is focused where it can best make a difference. And in CCL's view, that is working with Congress in a nonpartisan manner, building on the good relationships that CCL already has. So there's a very clear focus on congressional legislation that CCL is maintaining. Thanks, Noel, for allowing me to get a couple of words in there. Anybody else?
Ron, that was more than a couple, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Virginia, do you want to make an announcement?
Yes. CCL is going to do an article about CCL Hawaii, and I'd love to have a picture of a meeting so they can see the group of us. So for people who don't mind, if you would turn on your camera, otherwise it's fine if it's just your name on the screen. And then Noel is the master picture taker. I don't even know how he does it.
So you want me to do it then? Okay. So I am going to just
tell people when to tell them when to smile.
I'm going to count to 3, and we'll all do our shaka or smile or whatever you want to do, or look goofy too if you want. Okay. So 1, 2, 3.
Looks great.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. So I will start sharing again, I guess.
But now let's bring in Jen as well, Jen Tyler, our Vice President of Government Affairs, really to get in sort of the nitty gritty of what we talked about in the meetings and what impact we're seeing so far on the Hill. So hello, Jen. Maybe just start by walking us through what were the asks that we had for members of Congress, our Republican members of Congress in these meetings.
Yeah, definitely. So we had 3 main asks, and I'm sure you guys can maybe guess the first one, the primary one, because Ricky has talked about it already. It was those clean energy tax credits. So asking Republican members to preserve those tax credits as they start discussing and working out the reconciliation bill. And as Ricky mentioned, it was an incredibly timely ask. The House had just passed their budget resolution, which kicked off the reconciliation process. So getting that ask in right on time from the messengers that Republicans right now are going to be most receptive to, which were fellow conservatives, really, really was critical and such a great success so far. So that was our primary ask that we focused on. And we then had 2 secondary asks. The Fix Our Forest Act was an ask for the Senate side only because the House has already passed that bill. And that's a wildfire prevention mitigation bill, but also supports communities that are in risk areas for wildfire. And then we also supported a general ask for Republicans to support foreign pollution tariff legislation. So it's a little bit of new terminology, but essentially we're talking about a CBAM, a carbon border adjustment, and supporting general legislation that would accomplish that.
Okay, thanks. And it's early. Obviously, it's only been a few days, but has you noticed any impact of our meetings so far?
Yeah, it's definitely early, but I think, we had some incredible meetings. As you mentioned, there were 3 members of Congress who came to our reception. There was a bunch of congressional staff, and there was a member of Congress who came who we weren't expecting to come to our reception, but there was just such a good meeting that happened during the day that she stopped by the reception that evening. A bunch of staff that the same thing happened. They had a really productive meeting, and then they came to our reception. So we saw already how great the conversations were. And I'll say on the ask front, when we were talking about the clean energy tax credits, we went into these meetings not just making the case for these tax credits policy-wise, but we came in armed with data. We were talking about the real economic benefits. What are the actual investments in those districts? I'm sure many of you looked at Dana's spreadsheet that includes all of that data for how these tax credits have impacted districts across the country. And I've already received probably a handful, maybe a little bit more of emails from congressional staff saying, hey, I'd like to see that spreadsheet. So that data has been successful. They've heard the message and they want to use that data to really influence their own member and also influence other offices on the Hill. So I think so far it sounds like it was really successful, but we'll keep you guys posted as we hear more.
Great. And then, Jen, you're not totally new to this role, but you are our new Vice President of Government Affairs. For those of folks who don't know your backstory, I think it's interesting to, have you tell your backstory and why you see that, lobbying is so important in CCL's approach. So if you wouldn't mind just backing up there and just telling folks a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, happy to. So I started out after college on the Hill, and I started in a moderate Republican office and kind of worked my way up into the ledge team and eventually worked my way all the way up to chief of staff. But early on, when I think I was ledge aide or maybe ledge assistant, I was meeting with the CCLers for the first time. My boss was a freshman at that point, so we hadn't met with our CCL chapter that often, but they were coming in for their fly-in. And I think me and my boss were both pretty struck at how well-dressed the CCLers were. We meet with a lot of constituents and they don't always come in business attire. So that just the tone of the meeting, the way they were dressed, the fact that it started with an appreciation, it immediately struck us. And it was such a productive meeting. And we'd had a bunch of meetings with environmental groups and other groups. And because my boss was a Republican, it typically started out pretty in conflict mode. They were not really that supportive of us, and CCL was a completely different tone, looking to find common ground, looking to really build my boss up and move him in the right direction, but in a way that felt right to him and met the needs of the district. And so it was a great meeting. And then after that, we went down to the cafeteria later that day to grab my boss lunch before heading off to the Capitol. And in the cafeteria, it was just a sea of business, attire dressed CCLers with the little name tags on. And my boss just made the comment, "Oh my gosh, they're really everywhere." Because there was not a single table that didn't have CCLers at it. And so that presence really struck both my boss and me. It's just how many people CCL brought to the Hill, and just the level of conversations, the depth of the conversations. And so I was on the Hill 8 years or so, I really built a close relationship, and my boss did as well, with our local CCL chapter. And when I was ready to leave the Hill to jump off, I could think of no better place to go than CCL. I'm really passionate about finding that bipartisan space to move important climate policy. And CCL did it with my boss. They were the reason my boss was able to move so far on the issue and make such progress. And so I wanted to continue that work if I could as a part of CCL. So been thrilled to be here now for several years.
Right, Jen. One question that's in the in the Q&A, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer this or not, but who were the Republicans who came to the reception? Were you able to?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So we provided awards for Chairman Westerman, who's the chair of the House Natural Resources Committee, as well as Congressman Lawler out of New York. So both of them came and spoke. And then Congresswoman Miller Meeks, who's the chair of the Conservative Climate Caucus, which is the Republican Climate Caucus in the House. She attended our reception as well. And then we had Hill staff from, I think, upwards of 20 to 30 different Hill offices that swung by at one point or another to stop by.
Wow.
I think that was it.
Great, Noel. Thanks for arranging that. That was terrific. Any comments? Anybody?
I'd like to invite our team members who have been involved in actual lobbying at the Hill to maybe just share experiences, especially for people who might be interested in perhaps doing this in the future.
Yeah, I was able to go last year for the first time. It was my first time on the Hill, and I was impressed with how accessible Congress people were. Obviously, we had made appointments because we're organized, but you could just walk into their office, and everyone was, for the most part, really friendly. Jill Takuda was super excited to see us. I thought it was really funny. She wasn't wearing shoes until 1 minute before our appointment. So it felt very casual and open, and you were able to have a great conversation with them, show your appreciation, and then get into the nitty-gritty details about certain pieces of legislation. So it was really, I thought it was really cool to just be in person and see, like Jen said, just all of the CCLers. There are so many. And we were filling the cafeteria, and you can be in the cafeteria with the representatives, which is, I feel like they should have their own cafeteria, but it was cool being there as a volunteer. No, Paul. Paul shakes his head. Yeah, I didn't see any of my representatives in the cafeteria, but it was a very cool experience. And CCL also has some scholarships available too, and we can also do some fundraising potentially this year. Since going to DC obviously is quite far, but you can get help with your hotel or flight, and I think it really does make a difference to be there in person.
And when is that, Ashley?
It's usually in the summers. I think they may have pushed it back 1 month this year, though. Was that right? Because I think it might be in July.
That's
I'll
correct. July 20, July 20, July 21, and July 22.
Is it like really hot in DC in the summer, isn't it? That's like the worst month. But
yeah.
You're supposed to wear a jacket with a tie, but you can wear shorts, right?
No, but in all seriousness, that is the advantage of coming from Hawaii, though, right? Because you can wear an aloha shirt while all the other people from all the other states are wearing their monkey suits. So no, it's
and that's how you know the difference of who's from where.
Yeah,
exactly. We just want to, we just want it to be, it's clear who's represented. That's all. So.
Yeah,
so,
that was a big question for me, was what to wear. I ended up wearing a sundress and some sandals because it was hot. And I thought the sandals were too fancy. I was like, I should be wearing slippers. But then we have other people come join us from other states, and they're wearing full suits. And so we're like, you can take your jacket off, and then Jill walks in, with no shoes. So just very comfortable in her own office, which is great.
Nice.
But yeah, you can wear an aloha shirt. One of the key benefits for us.
Paul, you have comments? You're a frequent flyer to DC, right?
I'd just say it's a great experience. I totally agree with what you're saying, Ashley, that the fact that there's so many other CCLers there, it's definitely inspiring and really boost your spirits, what have you. It's just a lot of good energy around the whole lobbying day. And it's nice also, if you're coming all the way from Hawaii, unlike other people, you're most likely going to be able to go to all 4 of the offices, which, most other people who make the trip are only getting to go to a couple lobby meetings during that time. So though it's a bit of a headache planning 4 meetings, I don't know what you felt, Ashley, but I thought it was nice to be able to be a part of 4 meetings. I thought that was really cool to have the kind of the whole day there in the Capitol.
Yeah. I thought all 4 was great. And then I also, I scootered between some of them. They have the little electric scooters that you can ride in between because, it is kind of a long walk sometimes. But as long as you're careful, because there are accidents, but there are nice big sidewalks, it was really enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I only got to go to one in person, and that was in 2019, prior to COVID. Noel and I were there together as part, I think, of 5 people from Hawaii, and we got to meet with 4 officers, and we were face to face with Maisie Hirono and Ed Case and who was the other one? Noel and
Gabbard.
Yes, Tulsi Gabbard. Am I saying that right? Yeah. And no, we didn't meet face to face with her. We met with her aide. And what I noticed was, if you come as far as we came, that has real impact. And I remember Dave Chun, who was Tulsi Gabbard's aide, he was just so excited to see us. And so he comes out, we knock on the door, and he opens the door. Oh, you guys are here already. You're here already. Wait. Let me get the room prepared. And he goes rushing back inside, and I don't know what he did, arrange the furniture or pick up the Burger King wrappers or what he did. But anyway, we came in, and it was like, thank you so much for being here. And we say, well, how much time do you have? And his response to us, either at that or it might have been a different meeting, you have as much time as you need to convince me. And the meeting went on and on. So, Noel, what was your impressions?
very little to add to what you just shared. I think it was a very meaningful experience, and if I have the opportunity to do it again, I would. It's highly recommended.
Yeah. So the segment, Noel, that you played, everybody may not have been aware that early in March, just a few weeks ago, CCL had a conservative conference, and the conservative conference was very different. They were only meeting with Republican members of Congress, and to go to that conference as a CCLer, you were required to indicate, yeah, I'm not a far left, I'm not a middle of the road, I'm a right-leaning Republican. And with that credential, you were teamed up to meet with these Republican members of Congress. And as was commented, I think, in there, it creates a very different, more productive, more frank, more open conversation when a Republican member meets with a Republican constituent. And so I hope at some point in the future, our Hawaii state efforts can involve maybe more directly our Republican members of the Hawaii State Legislature. Maybe that is in our future. I don't know. So anyway, the next slide. Okay. Writing activity. This here is what I'd like to do, Noel, is go back to fundraising. Can we go back to the slide prior? Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal with fundraising, and I'll try to be brief. There's a real nice link, cclusa.org up there, donate March 2025. Let me just run through what that means. You can donate a lump sum to Citizens Climate Lobby or its companion organization, Citizens Climate Education. And you can also have a monthly donation, set that up with your credit card to have a monthly contribution. So the fundraising has a wonderful match, and the match basically is for every $1 that's added to a monthly contribution, you will be matched by $4 from a bunch of super angel donors who are so convinced of CCL's value and mission that they will match $1 with $4. So if you, for example, made a $10 monthly contribution, they would add $40 to your $10 for a total of $50. And they'll do that for 3 months. So that would be March, April, and May, $50, $50, total $150. And that is what results from a $10 monthly contribution by you as an individual. So my partner, Roberta, and I have done that. It's not big bucks, but it adds to the total. So if you've done that already, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think that's really the key points, other than to say that the Citizens Climate Lobby is bound by the rules of the IRS, as are all nonprofits, and it is a 501c4, and it is allowed to lobby political issues, but because lobbying is not regarded as a totally worthy public cause, the IRS says it's not tax deductible. However, Citizens Climate Education is not allowed to lobby, but it is tax deductible for any donations that you might make. And Citizens Climate Education is the one that does a lot of programming for CCL, helping us chickens understand the nuances that are going on. So that's enough about fundraising. Yeah, so Noel, now we can go to this writing activity. The writing activity, oh boy, a little bit hard to explain, but I'm going to suggest that Paul Bernstein, fabulous Paul Bernstein, Honolulu, he has said that he will deliver handwritten, ideally handwritten, cards, letters, postcards to our 4 members of Congress offices in Honolulu. Now, why are we doing this? We're doing this because CCL believes that MOCs receiving handwritten messages is kind of unusual. There's concern that some people can't even read handwritten cursive stuff anymore. So a workaround for that is, instead of cursive, print your message on your card. And then the question arises, oh my gosh, how are we going to get these cards and letters from the outer islands to Paul? So a couple of suggestions. One, if you're tech savvy enough to be able to scan them on your printer and get that image to go back to your laptop or your computer, you could email it to Paul. And Ashley's going to put Paul's email in the chat. Another alternative that Ashley just reminded us of prior to the start of the meeting is you could take a picture of what you've created, and you could maybe text it to Paul, and he'll print it out and hand deliver it. Other key things.
What's the deadline, Ron?
Oh, the deadline? That's a great question. I'm not sure what the deadline is. I think it's Earth Day. Anybody? Am I right on that? Is it Earth Day? Anyway, it's...
I think you're right, Ron. The 24th, right? The idea was to get them between the 15th to the 24th. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay, there you go. There isn't necessarily a deadline, Ruth, but Paul may just created one, and we know the recess is April, what did we say, 15 through 24, Paul, right?
That's what, yeah, thanks, Ashley. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would think the middle of the month, we should try for the 15th, Paul, don't you think? So give people a little leeway, or?
Yes, though, in interest of full disclosure, I will be off island until I think the 22nd. So if I would say if people get it to me the 22nd, then I'll either go the 23rd, 24th, or the 25th to the offices.
Okay.
So just to summarize, we want to have as many people send a personalized letter, right? Could be a short thing on a card. It could be on a piece of paper with a salutation addressed to the 4, one for each of the 4 members of Congress. A short appreciation. Thanks for doing all you do for Hawaii. Put a request in, which you have an example of here, a reason for your advocacy. Take a picture of it, scan it, send it to Paul in the email address that's in the chat. right?
Yeah, and if you want to, if you want to text me or send it snail mail, just please email me and I can send my address or phone number, whatever you need.
Okay. So by the 22nd, you'll be available to receive it starting the 22nd. So
yeah, well, I mean, I can receive it anytime, but I can't
do anything with it until the 23rd.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So I'm going to move us along here, Ron. We only have 8 minutes left. So we have Hawaii updates.
So, Jamin, do you want to say anything about? Did you want us to talk about Ocean Day? Sorry, Noel, I'm not. Or Jamin, I'll let you if you want.
Sure. Yeah. Just quickly, we were at the Capitol. Paul, Julie, and I representing CCL, Carbon Cashback Hawaii, and Hawaii, the Climate Youth Forum. And there were a lot of staffers that came around to talk to us. A lot of them are familiar or know Paul and Julie, so they were continuing some conversations. And I think there were some meetings with legislators in the morning and the evening. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Nice. See the prize wheel there.
Yeah, I love that
action. Yeah.
Thank you, Noel.
We had a bunch of questions. They were all true or false, and they were all true. And nobody got anything wrong. So John had some brownies. They're all gone. I ate some of them, and yeah, it was great. Julie's
were they special brownies by any chance?
Well, they were delicious in that way, but clear of mind and
okay.
Yeah,
and I see Keith's that little thing on the floor there.
The banner,
created by Paul Bernstein, I believe.
Yes, but thanks to you,
from my
Keith.
instructions.
Yes, exactly. Thanks to you. Well, your instructions that I didn't quite follow correctly, but yes, thank you.
Looks like it's worked.
It's seen some mileage. Events. There's a nationwide handoff on April 5. Hawaii Island has something at UH Hilo, the La Honua. Is that like
it's an Earth Month activity over at UH Hilo, and CCL will be there. So Ron, I think would it be you and Keith, or is Ruth? Are you going to be involved as well?
Ruth and Kyrie, I believe.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Kyrie.
And then Oahu, this was late breaking. They moved out their event to May 31st. So their Earth Month activity actually is being pushed out.
Thanks,
and
Kitty.
I just want to call out also the nationwide hands off. That link there should take you, if I'm not mistaken, Ruth, to various activities, right, across the state?
There's a map at that site, and then you can click on wherever you are in Hawaii and see what's going on. Actually, and even though the CCL people said they don't demonstrate, you can demonstrate here and on behalf of CCL. I mean, it's a hands off, so you can say hands off the Inflation Reduction Act or, related things. So anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, we have Takuda's having a couple more town halls, 29th and also the 5th. Media. Virginia, do you want to give a quick update on this?
Sure.
Sorry, Jamin.
We had an editorial published that was written by Joanne Yukimura, and it was done personally, but it was a very good discussion about the importance of carbon cashback. So, and it was in the Honolulu Star Advertiser. And then there were a couple posts. So one was of the Ocean Day that you just saw pictures about, that Jamin did on CCL Hawaii. And then another one on CCL Hawaii that Jamin did. That one was a reel. And they both were well received by our people that look at our Instagram. Jamin, thanks. Did you want to add anything? I see your name there also.
Right. No, I just sort of make things based off of like the op-eds that we see. And yeah, the pictures of us at the events definitely get more attention than like infographics. So I guess we should do more stuff.
Yeah, we should have Paul practice TikTok videos, right?
Yeah.
Or reels, right? Have him do some movement. Yeah.
There's always these dances, that people are doing. So I think do those.
You really want to bring down this organization, don't you?
That reel though got a lot of views.
Yeah, because reels get shown to people who are just scrolling. So that's best format. Because otherwise, like the static images, you only see them if you go to an account, but a reel will show up in people that are just like scrolling through stuff. So more of those, but I'm not really good at them.
And I see that Karina has an announcement in the chat about the summit.
Yeah, she's saying they want more video, so that's like the best format for.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I forgot I was hosting. Climate Forum. Sorry, I was just sitting here. Paul, I think you know the most about this.
I can. So just quickly, 2 bills that Carbon Cashback Hawaii is supporting, and I think also CCL is supporting the second one. So anyways, sorry, these are Climate Future Forum, but actually Carbon Cashback is supporting HB 1051, extending the deadline for the energy efficiency portfolio standards. They currently go out to 2030. The bill would extend them to 2045 and tighten the targets or make the targets more ambitious. So just encouraging folks, if want to support Climate Future Forum or Carbon Cashback, to you can submit testimony as an individual in support of these. And if you want to learn more about Climate Future Forum, which is a youth-based group, there's the website there. So I know you're short on time, so.
Yep. Legislative actions. Paul, are you able to share about this too?
You want me to go, or do you want to go, Doug?
Or Doug.
Oh, okay. So I guess I'm going. Okay. So the carbon cashback bill, I think most folks know, but for those who don't, obviously, for the Hawaii effort, that's our main bill. Unfortunately, Rep. Iligan, who's the chair of the Consumer Protection Committee, chose not to hear it. So it passed out of Lowen's committee, the Energy Environmental Protection. I think I got that right, EEP. But he chose not to hear it, so it died. And then basically the companion on the Senate side was never heard by Senator Wakai, so that died on that side. So in an effort to stay involved in the legislative process and recognizing that carbon pricing isn't the only thing we need. We need a lot to address the climate crisis, if you will. So there are some other bills that Carbon Cashback is supporting. One is the HB 344, which requires greater share of parking stalls in new state buildings to be EV ready. There's a healthy soil, so this fits in with what Ron was talking about, one of CCL's main pillars. And then again, going back to the action item here, so if you submit testimony as an individual, you get to support 2 groups. So you can feel really good about yourself. So.
Thank you, Paul.
And then,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you'd like to endorse Carbon Cashback, we have a sign up here. Take a screenshot of, I don't know if the whole QR code is there, but if not, just go to the link. It'd be great to get as many people as possible to sign the endorsement statement. We're hoping to eventually go live with it, but we'd like to get well, actually, we'd like to get several more people to sign on. So greatly appreciate anybody going to the site and signing on. Thanks, Jamin, for putting the link in the chat. And then if you want to become involved in carbon cashback, so like I said, this is the state level effort supporting carbon pricing, but as you saw, also supporting a few other bills around. So this is around kind of Hawaii working at the state level and the state legislature. We have a general meeting on Mondays at 1:30, and we've moved the media meeting to the same day that the legislative meeting, that the outreach meeting, we're alternating Thursdays there. So 10 o'clock Thursdays, there's either a media meeting or an outreach. And thanks, Virginia, for leading the media effort. And then Tom, who's on vacation, leads the outreach. And then Thursdays at 2, Doug leads the legislative effort, which there's a grand opportunity for anybody who wants to do a local lobby day on April 14th at the Capitol. Doug's going to fly over from Maui, so no excuses for anybody who's on another island. Doug's showing that you can actually make it to Oahu. So our hope is to line up a number of lobby meetings with state legislators and go around and talk about carbon cashback and 2026 legislative session around that.
Thank you, Paul. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. But one last thing, if you folks could all record your attendance in our tracker. This is a link in the chat. It's really fast and helps us monitor all the activity that we're all doing. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Jamin, I think Karina has an announcement as well before we wrap up.
Sure.
So really quickly, because I realize we're on time. I got invited to be the closing keynote at that conference that I put in the chat. It's the Summit on Feminist Leadership. It's going to be in April. It's going to be the first time that we are going to talk about how does CCL get involved with justice communities and what they can do in order to continue to advance climate. So I got invited to share some words, and I will, which is very interesting to be interesting company. The other thing is I am trying to increase the knowledge of what people learn at CCL. So we have a link tree for everything inclusion. That is something that I run through my area, my Department of One. But you are going to find everything there. Every time we have a workshop, those workshops take place every Monday. I think it falls like at 2 p.m. this time. I'm trying to think of the time change. But it's always going to be the fourth Monday of the month. They deal with different topics. I'm actually looking for ideas of what type of diversity and inclusion topic people should learn about. This is for everybody. This is for me in thinking when we go to DC, how knowledgeable do we want our CCL volunteers to be about diversity and inclusion, about bipartisanship, about anything that can make them as much aware as they can. So we just finished having a session on language justice. I thought it was very informative. These workshops get put together by members in my team, which are volunteers. They're interns and fellows and what I call community ambassadors, people that volunteer their time just to help out. And then I wanted to address the scholarship situation for the summer. So the summer conference, as you know, is going to be moved to July. And this year, unfortunately, we are not going to have a lot of assistance financially. There's going to be the Marshall Saunders Scholarship, and that is for 18 to 25-year-olds. So we're looking for volunteers, 18 to 25, so it's open to anybody, regardless of background. They need to get nominated by the state coordinator. So whoever is the state coordinator for Hawaii needs to nominate them. We are asking all the state coordinators to do that and to do that as quickly as possible because it's first come, first serve. So I have been spending my day passing the word to the communities that I work with, which is mostly the affinity group. But since I figured I was coming to this meeting today, I wanted to make sure to get people here. The scholarship is going to cover the 3-day stay at the Omni, and it's going to cover the pre-conference registration. It is not going to cover travel, and it's not going to cover food. So if we get anyone, I am happy to personally contribute, and that stays here. But that's all that I can offer. But I just wanted to make sure that people were informed. If you can inform people that you think would be interested in attending, that would be great. You can nominate someone. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's it. Unless Noel, Ron, Paul, anybody wanted to share any final closing remarks?
No, I just want to thank you, Jamin, for moderating all the way through. Thank you so much again. And everybody for being here. Great to see you.
Thanks, all.
Don't save the chat, remember?
Oh, good idea.
There's a lot of good stuff there.
Not bad.
Yeah, you got to reward Ashley for tirelessly putting in all those links, right? So.
Sorry, I felt like I was spamming you all. Hopefully I wasn't. Just trying to be helpful.
No, very helpful. Really, seriously, appreciate it. Thanks, Jamin.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.